Hey y'all, it's your sister, mother, auntie, high priestess, okay? Back again with another video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, love gang. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit, just a little bit about astrology, okay? Because I just love it, love it, love it. So, astrology itself is not evil, you guys. How can the studying of the astrological natural elements and alignments of the sky for which we live under, created by God, who knew full well it will become a desire of interest, right? Before TV existed, before phones existed, before clocks existed, before maps existed, the stars and planets in the skies existed, okay? The problem with astrology is when it becomes an idol, okay? And the misuse of astrology in a demonic or obsessive way is really wrong. Keeping in mind that this is the way of this world, it is a conceptual energy. And what I mean by that is that anything under the sun can be utilized for good or evil. Anything under the sun can be utilized for positivity or it can be misused. This is relevant when we think about religion, when we think about the Bible, even as many times as it's been rewritten and as many times as it's been used to harm people, right? There is a difference though in using it as a self-development tool, versus turning it into your God. Okay, some people literally replace astrology with God. Okay, and I believe that this has the ability to lead to some sort of disaster at some point. Okay, but it's not healthy to center your entire life around astrology. No, it isn't. But I digress. Okay, because astrology is a knowledge of self tool. Why wouldn't you want to utilize a tool that can help you understand yourself better, right? Why wouldn't God want you to be able to understand yourself better, okay? If it's your path, it's your path. If God provides the way, why wouldn't you want to utilize it, right? Astrology can be great for self-development, self-awareness, or even just knowledge itself, right? Astrology is a great start into understanding yourself because you can really begin to learn so much about your life purpose, about life itself. You can begin to connect the dots in your life, and astrology can even provide some starting paths and ideas for people who have absolutely no direction. Hello, that was once me. Like, there was a time where I was sitting in my dining room, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, I have no idea what to do next with my life. Like, seriously. And something like a voice inside of me said, you know what? You need to maybe study your birth chart a little bit more to get some ideas, see what's going on in there. And that's exactly what I did, right? And when I did that, I realized that I had some significant energies within creativity and the communication area. And something sparked inside of me like, write a book. And literally, y'all, that's how I ended up writing my book, Memories of a Girl Once Was. I'll put it in the description box right there. It was selling on Amazon, but right now I got it kind of discontinued on Amazon. But it had great reviews. I'm thinking about bringing it back. But I am selling it in my Etsy shop as like an ebook. But that is literally how I got the idea to write that book, from looking at my birth chart. Okay. So who wouldn't want, ideas when you have no idea what you want to do with yourself next? And astrology can literally help you figure that out. And it's also for people who just want to try a new thing, a new way of understanding the world, of understanding life or themselves. Okay. So if someone was to ask me, what was the most surprising or helpful, astrological realization for myself? I would say, the most helpful thing I found was, within my fourth. Now, there was a lot of things I found helpful, but I would say the most impactful thing that really helped me understand, like gave me the wise, part of the wise to why I experienced some of the things I did and do, is my 4th house and my 11th house axis. And the reason why I say 4th zodiac house and 11th house axis is because naturally the 4th house is ruled by Cancer, okay, and I'm a Cancer sun, but my 4th house is personally ruled by the energy of Aquarius, okay, and Aquarius is the natural ruler of the 11th house, okay, and Aquarius energy is kind of known for that. First of all, it's a humanitarian sign, so it's an oxymoron sign in that it is both social and also it's also a social and an antisocial energy, right? Aquarius energy needs that time to kind of recalibrate. It is a sign of like the water barrier, and pouring that water onto the world and having that balance, that one foot in reality, that one foot in the spiritual, realms. And it's like Aquarius is known as that energy of needing to kind of like detach often. And then they're also known as like this, humanitarian sign, for the people. 11th house is a natural ruler for Aquarius, and the 11th house deals with groups, networking, social settings, family settings, friendships, okay, and hopes, wishes, and dreams, okay. And my 11th house is actually ruled by Virgo, okay. And what I learned through that is that as I go throughout life, recognizing and realizing how I navigate and exude myself in like my family area, because my 4th house is ruled by Aquarius. So that represents that in that area is also the energy of upbringing, of child rearing. It's also of parenting and your family unit and your environment. And it reflects that my environment, my family connections, my unit is going to be different from a lot of people versus people who don't have an Aquarius for 4th house. Aquarius is naturally ruled by the planet Uranus, okay, and Uranus is known as that shock planet, that unexpected planet, is known as that planet of eccentricities, being unique, being different, being set apart. It is the energy of the rebel. It's the energy of doing things your way, and it is connected to the Aquarius energy, and that's what's in my 4th house. And so that means that the way that I navigate through family connection and my home and environment will be different from a lot of people. It'll be unique. It's going to be eccentric. It's going to be different, right? So that was really eye-opening for me. And it also explained a lot about how I grew up and how I was raised, because you can figure out a lot about how you were raised by looking at your 4th house, because how I was raised reflects Aquarius energy, because I spent a lot of time by myself, because my home when I grew up, like my family home, wasn't a very like inviting place. Everybody was kind of like in their own space doing their own thing, and so I spent a lot of time in like solitude. If I wasn't outside playing, like that was the other half of the humanitarian, of the energy of the Aquarius. Like I was like half and half. Like I spent a lot of time outside, going all over the place, and then there was times where I would spend a lot of time in my room, just with myself in solitude, doing whatever I felt like doing, right? That's how I was raised, and it's kind of reflective of how I am. And then at the same time, my 11th house really helped me understand why I struggled so much with like personal friendships, okay, and our group connections and family life. For example, growing up, when I was a little kid, like everybody was my friend when I was a kid. Like you could have been an enemy and I was still like, hey, like I was just like, I loved everybody, right? I loved everybody. And then, and I loved everybody, and everybody was my friend. But then there was like this switch around the age of 9, because there was a change in my environment, and in this neighborhood, like the kids were just so different from me. And I talk about that in my book, actually, Memories of a Girl Once Was. I talked about how it felt to go from this extreme, shocking Aquarius Uranus difference of being this person who had a plethora of different types of friends as a kid to someone who couldn't understand what was going on with these particular groups of children that were so different from me, while I came in wanting to play and have adventure and be childlike. I was finding that these kids were very grown for their age. I mean, just like, it was like a shell shock to me, honestly. Because they were looking at me like I was childish. I'm like, aren't we all around the same age? Y'all don't want to play jump rope? Y'all don't want to kick the ball? Y'all don't. All they wanted to do was talk about boys and talk about the latest hair and clothes, and that was just so foreign to me. I'm like, y'all don't do kid stuff? Y'all just be sitting right here. And so from there, it was like I lost that social energy, okay? I had very few friends at that point. And then at the same time, I started getting bullied in school, okay? And that is reflected in my 11th house because I have Saturn there. And my 11th house being ruled by Virgo, okay? And Virgo is a very analytical energy, right? It can overanalyze. It can see real deeper into things that other people can't see. It can bring stress, especially with that being connected to Saturn in my 11th house, which is about karma, which is about extreme challenges and stress. And then as I was looking at that, I realized why my energies around like friendships and stuff was so afflicted, because of my Saturn and Virgo energy in the 11th house, also conjunct with Jupiter, which can be also oxymoron, because in some ways my 11th house brings me a lot of blessings, but in other ways it also can bring stress, okay? This is why I now navigate differently when it comes to like friendship connections and stuff like that, because I understand myself. I know what's going on now. When I look at my chart, I'm like, okay, you know how you have to kind of navigate things differently. It's not gonna, you can't see friendships and things like that the same as everyone else. Hello. Okay. It's just, that's what I figured out. And I'm like, okay, now I understand why some of the people who I thought were like my closest friends when I was like a teenager and into young adulthood, betrayed me. Like, literally, I'm not even going to go into details about that, but I would say every, like, person I considered like a best friend did me wrong in some type of way. And then I found myself alone. I found myself without friends. Saturn in the 11th house. But then I realized that because of who I am and what I do, that I had to learn the art of allowing people to come in and out of my life. Okay. And what I mean by that is I don't attach myself too tightly to friendships and different things, because I understand that I'm here for like a bigger purpose. It is to connect to who I need to connect to and then let them go on. But the Jupiter energy in my chart does reflect that there will be loyal people in my life. There will be some loyal people in my life. There will be, loyalty and commitment in my life, but I need to be able to be understood in that way. And so the people who are really connected to me, they understand it. They do. They understand it. They know that they can come back in a year later and be like, hey, girl. And I'll be like, hey, girl. Okay. As long as there was no like issue attached to it or anything, right? So it's like those type of, realizations that astrology can help you understand. Like when I found out I have Chiron in the 7th house, y'all. When I found out I had Chiron in the 7th house, that really opened up my eyes to why I experience so many painful situations when it comes to soul contracts and marriage and long-term commitments and relationships. Because Chiron is known as the wounded healer. So wherever Chiron is in your chart, it does reflect that area is going to be one of the most extensive, painful areas for you. It's going to be a very learning lessons type of energy that is connected to your past life karma, and that is connected to what you must experience in this lifetime. And so the good thing about the Chiron energy is that at some point it becomes a blessing to your life. At some point, what you learn from the painful experiences of Chiron, you should be able to share out into the world. Meaning, I'm no different from anyone else. You can look at your Chiron and you can look at your life and you can say, okay, how do I use use this to also impart and help others from what I've learned through this energy. And for me, it was a lot of painful experiences around marriage and relationships. And I mean, very painful. Some of y'all already know. I done told the story. I might tell it again. I don't know. But it really helped me understand why I went through and experienced some of the things that I did in relationships. And then Chiron likes to turn itself into a healer energy, the healer energy, to where it does eventually become healed, but it takes a lot of pain in that Chiron area. So Chiron is spelled Chiron. If you know, it's free chart inputters out here on Google. Long as you have to have your birth state, city and state. You have to have your birth time for accuracy. That is on most people's birth certificate. Can I get it out, y'all? Can I say certificate? Certificate? Okay, anyway. What? Anyway, yeah, you can find the time on your birth certificate, okay? Let me tell you a story. My birth time was not on my birth certificate. So when I had first started learning about astrology, I was like, okay, how am I going to know what my placements are when I don't have my birth time? And so what I did was I looked up some ways to find out, how to get your birth time. And then I came across that you could like call your hospital of birth and ask for the records, and the records should actually say on there what time you were born. So I happen to be one of those unlucky people who didn't have your birth time on your birth certificate. My kids do, and my grandchild. But so that's what I did. I called my hospital of birth, and they had me sign, notary, to release the records. And then I found my birth time, and I was really excited about that. I was so happy about that when I saw my birth time. Okay. And so at that point I was able to, because it's more accurate when you know your birth time, just to let you know that. Okay. But you can input those things in charts, and you can find out where your Chiron is, okay? Because it will open your eyes to a lot about why you are experiencing certain devastating, painfully devastating situations. And what that reflects is, when it comes to Chiron, what is painful to you may not be as painful to the next person, but it is designed. The Chiron energy is designed to be one of the most painful spots in your life, okay? Just to let you know. And I do astrology, and I do love to interpret charts, and I do love to do, like how I'm doing right now, one-on-one video calls and discuss your chart. So even if you've already like had your chart done, you can come to me and we can do more. We can discuss your chart fully. I do chart interpretations. I do horoscopes based, like real-time horoscopes based on your actual birth time information. So just know, if you decide to get a service with me, and I'll put the link in the description box, you will need your exact birth time, city, and state of birth. And let me just tell you, I've done over 100 charts, okay? So you can trust me, with your information. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being with me in this moment. You are awesome. Love, gang. Listen, go ahead, subscribe, share, like, comment, but keep it respectful, y'all. See you guys next time.